Hello and welcome to the pre-game show for this round's massive clash, Carlton versus Collingwood. I'd love to say the MCG, but it's at the Gabba today. Jedd Zetzer here alongside Harrison Hymans. Now, we like to call him Bolt. Bolt, welcome to the pre-game show.
Jedd, great to be here. An absolutely massive day for our football club. An elimination final, if I'm being polite here. It's a big game. What are your thoughts early?
Oh, it's going to be a very interesting encounter. I think that there are very, very important key matchups today that we're going to look at later on in the show. But I need to ask you first, team changes. Paulson and Dow come in for Cottrell and SPS. What are your initial thoughts on those changes?
Well, my initial thoughts were they both. Firstly, it was a bit strange because it said they were managed on the team sheet and they're both emergencies. So I'm not sure whether Petreski-Seaton went out with a shoulder or whether he was actually omitted. But look, Cam Paulson, this is almost last chance saloon really for him. First game in his new position. It'll be interesting, So he's the like for Samo today. And I think by all reports, Paulson's been playing really well. But I guess, I think we'll know pretty quickly whether he's out of his depth or not, whether he takes Josh Thomas or, maybe a Callum or Tyler Brown or maybe Tom Phillips when he's resting forward. I'm not too sure. But, we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts on Paulson?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll know straight away, I think. We'll know straight away whether he's, going to be comfortable at the level or, slightly uncomfortable. I like that one from Mr. Lawman. He says, Paulson makes me a little bit nervous, but hoping he has a good one. I mean, I'm the exact same. He does make me a little bit nervous going into this match. I'm unsure how he's going to, match up, who he's going to match up on, if he's going to be comfortable. But to be honest, I'm probably more excited to see him than I am Paddy Dow.
Yeah, and Paddy Dow, look, he's going to be a very, very interesting one as well. I think with Dow, we know he's been maligned for his ball use in the past. And, he's had a solid run in the scratch matches. I think he's played 3 in a row now. And he's had to work his way back into this team, which is really good because he barely missed in his first 2 years of senior footy. So I think with Dow, once again, it's not even about, accumulating today. It's just about, efficiency going forward with Dow. And I think Dow's probably fighting for that last midfield spot with whether it's Kennedy or someone like that.
Now, that one coming in from James Fisher, Curnow to Adams and Must. It's very interesting. Who will Ed Curnow go to? Will it be Adams? Will it be Scott Pendlebury? I mean, some different matchups there. Who would you send him to if you're Teague today? It's
an interesting one because I think the game is going to be – I think if we can make the game a quick game, it's going to suit us better. So I'd actually send him to Pendlebury.
Now, I like that one from Deck, Blues by a million. Now, people are asking for predictions. Why do I like? Says predictions, boys. We're going to talk about it at the end of this pre-game show. We'll run over our predictions and talk about who we think is going to win and why. JSNGRTS says Paulson gets the Stevenson matchup. Well, I mean, would you be pleased if Paulson goes on to Stevenson?
Well, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if he will, to be honest, because I think what it will happen, obviously Cameron and Cox are their 2 big fellas, and obviously they should attract Jones and Wiedering. And then I think Plowman will attract the next dangerous forward, which will be Myercheck. And then I think Tom Williamson should get the job on Stevenson, just thinking about it now on the spot. Stevenson's such a dangerous player around goal. I know he has been playing up the field a little bit before he was dropped. So if he does go up the field, maybe a Paulson gets him. And maybe when he does drop deeper towards, because he is so dangerous, and there's Jamie Elliott as well. So it actually might be Williamson to Elliott, and then Simpson and Paulson maybe running through Jaden Stevenson. It's going to be very tough how we manage those small, medium forwards, because it is an area where, for the last few years we haven't been great. We've definitely improved this year, but I think that is probably the key to winning.
Yeah, the questions come in from Gabe Takash. He says, how do you think De Koning and Pitternet will deal with Grundy? Now, I'm going to quickly say I think it's actually a good opportunity for Tom De Koning to come up against a player who I see down the track De Koning potentially becoming a player like Brodie Grundy, one that moves around the grounds. I'm not saying he'll be as good. If he's good, that's enormous. But he sort of seems like that type of a player as almost an additional midfielder.
Yeah.
I actually think Pitternet will play a lot more ruck this week than he did last week. How do you see that one faring?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because Pitternet didn't ruck as much around the ground as I thought he would up in Darwin last week. But I think I actually think, to be honest, these two just have to run Grundy into the ground. And I think we've got to take Grundy to places where Grundy wouldn't want to go. And when De Koning is rucking, take him to the goal square, send him down there. And I think Pitternet is definitely able enough to get front position on Grundy because even last week, Goldstein had some really good moments just at around the ground stoppages in terms of, pure hit outs and stoppages. So I think Pitternet hopefully just neutralises the contest. I think it's hard to go into a game expecting to beat Brodie Grundy when you've got two ruckmen that have played less than 20 games. But I think if we can neutralise that contest and once again give our midfielders an equal chance as what theirs is going to get, then I think we're going to be really set from the middle. Because I think no side bottom, no Treloar from a Collingwood point of view is going to open the door for our third, fourth, fifth midfielders like Setterfield and Ed Curnow and these guys.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I want to quickly talk about the forward matchups for us. Who goes to Harry and who goes to Harry and who goes to Eddie? Those are the two today who I'll be looking at closely.
It'll be interesting. I think Jordan Roughhead will get the job on H. They probably see him as our most dangerous tall. And I think they usually send Roughhead to that tall so they can allow Darcy Moore to kind of drop off and kind of do, what he does. And then in terms of bets, it'll be interesting. I'm not sure whether they, lock down on him hard with a Maynard or whether they go more in Isaac Quainer. That'll be very interesting. I actually think it might be Maynard. I think because bets is a bit of a barometer for us. So
Eddie knows when he needs to turn it on. I mean, if he wants to play finals this year, this is his game. He's had a form slump of late, but this is an opportunity for him. So it just asks a question now. If Moore, because you said Moore likes to play his game, who goes to Lever? Because he's also a barometer for us.
I think Madgen. So I think Madgen will take Casbolt. So I think Madgen and Roughhead will be the two talls going through Casbolt and Mackay. And then I think Darcy Moore will kind of peel off the resting ruckman, whether that is De Koning. We don't see Pitternet go to full forward too often. But I think that's how they'll utilise Moore. But the small forward, and then there's Zach Fisher as well. Gibbons is going to drop down there as well. So they'll all just rotate through, whether it's a Crisp or a John Noble or something like that. But the bets one, I actually think will be Isaac Quainer. Very
interesting. Well, Black Carrot says today's Eddie's day. And I actually agree. I think Eddie's gonna go big. Zach the Strongest says I think Fisher is gonna get 50 touches. I'd love it. We know that I love Zach Fisher and you do as well, Bolt. Talking about Zach Fisher, does he line up on the wing for us today alongside Jack Nunes on the other wing?
It's an interesting. It might be. I actually think it'll be a mixture of Dow and Murphy. To be honest, I think Zach Fisher. I think Zach Fisher looked really, really dangerous closer to goal last week in that 25, 30, 35 metre region out from goal. So, and I'd love, and as we saw last week, when the ball hits the ground, Carlton look like they're going to score. And I don't think today is going to be a scrap. I think today is going to be, you're going to have to kick your 10, 11, 12, 13 goals to win. So I'd prefer Fisher a bit closer to the ground. I mean, closer to the goal, personally.
Someone we haven't spoken about, Jack Martin now. He's a major barometer, isn't he, for us? Where do you see him lining up? Will he play more midfield time this week, or will they stick to what they've been doing and sort of share the load in the mid and the forward line?
So I think this is where we've got to take advantage of their outs. Treloar and Sidebottom are their S2 forward way runners and outside runners for the middle. So I think getting that good mix of outside run for us, whether it's Murphy and Martin, I think they have to play on the ball. I think Martin will be up around the ground today because Pendlebury, Adams, Rupert Wills, Tyler Brown's going to maybe mix a little bit in there. Chris Mayne, they're not quick. So I think Jack Martin's going to give us that really, like a point of difference as such. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'd like to see Martin up around the ball. But once again, Martin around goals is equally as dangerous. So that's why he's such a good player, because we can play him, where we need him to play. I
agree. And I think that you look at the way Melbourne beat Collingwood. they smacked them on the rebound, on the spread. They spread the wings open. They used the corridor. They used the wings. There was just a lot of variety in Melbourne's game that day. I think Carlton have to do similar. I think we have to open up the wings.
Yeah.
We have to look inboard as well, though, and it's going to be very interesting to see the distribution from the back half because Lockie Plowman and Tom Williamson have been using the ball really well of late. And this is something that has to happen this week. They need to use the ball well. And, I mean, Plowman, he could go to Myercheck. He's going to have his hands full today. He's got a big role to play, doesn't he?
He does. And I think with the Petreski-Seaton, out, I think Simpson might be that preferred kicker coming out of the back line. Because, I know Petreski-Seaton's form has been a little topsy-turvy the last month, but he is the bloke you kind of usually want coming out of the back 50. So they might try and get the ball into Simpson's hands a bit, and they might try and utilise Paulson's run. I think that's the great unknown of, the Cam Paulson inclusion, whether he is going to, I guess, just be strictly tasked with a lockdown job or whether he is going to have that two-way type of game.
It's gonna. I'm getting nervous. We're going at about 20 minutes away from the bounce. Getting very, very nervy here.
It's our biggest game in about 7 years.
It is. And you know what? It's the biggest game in Patrick Cripps's career. Today is the biggest match in his career. So that's a big one. Pommy and Oz says, stop giving. This is war. This is more than a game. 22 men do battle tonight. This is finals. This is 100 years of history. This is our chance to own our destiny. Battle lines draw. I love it. I love it, Pommy. I have to agree. This is a big, big game. Now, let's have a look at the changes from Collingwood because we have to see what's going on for Collingwood. Now, they took Levi Greenwood out. They took Risco out. Well, the big ins for Collingwood this week, Quayne is back after just, a massive injury. It's only a few weeks.
No, I know, and that'll be very interesting. I think they have made pretty good changes. Myercheck, Stevenson, Quayne, Callum Brown coming in.
That makes me nervous. Once
again, I think we've seen this year, our best footy is better than theirs, and I think if we can get the game on our terms quickly enough, like we did last week, even against West Coast, we got the game where we wanted it to be, pretty early on. So, and we were right into that game, with up until maybe 7 minutes to go. So I think if we play the game on our terms, I think, we should be able to get an early lead. And we just got to get scores on the board because we can score really quickly. I think today, days where you don't want to be playing catch up, you don't want to have to chip away to score. I just think we've got to just be comfortable today. So I think that's the main thing with Collingwood.
Something I want to see today, I want to see our leader, Patrick Cripps. I want to see him come out and say, boys, get on my back. We're in this game. This is the biggest game of his career. Let's be honest.
It's the first time in Patrick Cripps' career a game has kind of had finals implications, which is very – and the same goes with Sam Doherty, our co-captains. It's as a group, this is the first time they've been in it, at a relevant stage in the season. And whether we make the finals or not, we'll see what happens. But it's the fact that we're relevant. It's the fact that we're playing these big games. There's going to be learnings that are made. So it's going to be very interesting. But, and as Adam's just said, we have to play our game. If we get the game where we know we can get it to, I'm pretty comfortable that we can get the chocolates.
Absolutely. I think that, you put it perfectly. Our best this year has been better than Collingwood's best. So if we can play our game, we should be able to get a result. Touch wood. A couple of questions coming in from the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter line, wherever you're commenting from. Black Carrot, he says, today's game is on our terms. The betting odds or previous stats shouldn't show much relevance. This is game time for Carlton. This is test of Bagger's character. The whole AFL community is pumped too. And I think that's the big thing. The rivalry, it never died out, but the rivalry didn't have as much significance in the last, 5 years because we haven't been up there with Collingwood. But now this is as big as it gets. This is a game which just reignites the flame. This rivalry is back. I mean, if this was being played at the MCG today, there wouldn't be a spare seat.
No. And we saw in round 3, 2012, that Friday night game where we were both undefeated, both the two big dogs in town at that point of the year. And we absolutely belted them on that Friday night. It's very similar just in terms of the fact that this game's really going to dictate the paths for both clubs going forward in 2020. That's what's so exciting. And I guess the fact that it is against Collingwood rather than, a lesser team makes it, there's just so much on the line. There's just so much on the line. The rivalry, and then obviously finals as well. So, yeah, it's more than bragging. It is more than bragging rights today.
It is. It is now. For those watching, how many goals do you think Eddie Betts will kick today? We're very interested because we were speaking about it before. Comment, how many goals will Eddie kick today? We'll read out some of the comments. And also, put in your predictions for the game. We're interested to see if our Blue Baggers are confident going into the match today and how they think we will fare. Black Carrot says 2-3. I think that's pretty fair. I'd like him to kick at least 2. It's a big.
Even last week with Betts, he wasn't far away from kind of breaking the game open. It was such an almost game for Eddie, so I don't think he's too far off.
No, he isn't. I think last week was the stepping stone. This week is the week for him to absolutely launch. We saw him against Geelong. And against Geelong, he changed the game for us. Mark says, that's awesome. He says it's time for Cripps, Docco, Martin, and Betts to stand up. I agree. They're the big 4 today. Love that one. Terry commented, 2 for Eddie today, 3 goal assists. Well, that'd be a tick. That'd be a tick if he's able to get goal assists. And I think that's a really, really good point Terry brings up, because it's not only about goals for Eddie, because the goal assists that we saw him bring to the table against Geelong, that's what won us the game. It wasn't he only kicked against Geelong. I don't even think he kicked that many. It was more the fact that it was his goal.
Every score went through Betts in that third quarter against and against the Dogs. Those 2 big games that we've won, Geelong and Bulldogs, Eddie Betts has stood up in. So a lot of his right.
Even last week, to an extent, that left foot goal assist was awesome. That one where he sort of got onto the left, dropped the ball pretty low to the ground. It was, pretty awesome. Eddie 3. Love that. Hopefully. I'm hoping.
I just think it's important today that H and Casbolt kind of just make their mark early. Yeah. Because, their big forwards, Cox and Cameron, really don't bother me, to be honest. I'm pretty comfortable with Jones and Wiedering taking them. I know they're big lads, but I'm comfortable with that. But I just think if H and Casbolt can kind of take the game by the scruff of the neck a little bit, then I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot.
Now, I want to ask the Blue Baggers watching, what is more important today? Or who are more important? Is it our big forwards or our small forwards? Is it the importance of having H and Levi clunking it up forward, kicking goals, or, your Eddies, your Fishers, your Martins? Are they the more important players today? Is it going to be those crumbing forwards, or is it going to be the big men? Tell us who is more important going into the match, because that's what I want to know. That I think is the most intriguing thing for today. Another one from Black Carrot, he says, we need big, strong marks and hands early, clunk a few. Yep, it's fair. I'm looking at these comments, and most people are saying the big forwards are more important today than the smalls. And they're probably right, because Collingwood's best defenders are their big defenders. Moore and Ruff are the 2 dangerous ones down back for them.
Yeah, and I agree. I just think, and it's imposing. It's team lifting when you see H take a big early mark, or whether it's Casbolt bombing from 45, 50 out. I was just thinking the other one that's going to be really important today as well is Sam Walsh. I think he has been the man the last 5 or 6 weeks, Walsh. He's just been flying under the radar. Well, probably not in Carlton circles, but generally he is. And I think if Walsh can get on top today, along with Setterfield, the new generation of midfielders, and stamp themselves that this is their era, this is, it's their time at Carlton. This is the start of their rise to the top. A midfield led by Walsh, Cripps and Setterfield, and that's what it's all about. Now,
we're talking about a pre-game show here, but I have to just squeeze this one in because it was breaking news during the week. Zach Williams, we saw it during the week. The AFL website said we are not that we're the front runners, but that we're majorly interested in him. Bolt, how important is it for us to land someone like that?
Yeah, and he'd be handy. And I think those types of players are what's going to set a game like today apart. Just dash, take the game on, use the corridor, just get a bit of unpredictability. And it's something I guess we do lack a little bit. He'd be a massive inclusion onto this Carlton list. But I think, today's all about a bit of chaos going forward. Just make sure, have no idea what's coming at him. So we can't have consistent, predictable entries going forward. It's just, and if it hits the ground, that's fine. So back us in once it's on the deck. It's just, we got to be unpredictable going forward, and someone like Zach Williams offers that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, something you want to see in Paddy Dow's game that has changed from the last time we saw him in round one. What is it, Bolt? If there is anything, or if you think,
it's kick, and it's technique. It's just technique. I want to see the ball spin properly. That's for a start. It's just take, I'm not asking for him to go and get 25, 30 possessions. Just don't waste your disposals. And that's what it's all, because he is going to get his hands on the ball. I am expecting him to be at the coalface at stoppages. I'd just like to see a really high footy IQ game from Paddy Dow. That's all I asked today.
Yep, same. One's coming from Kat here. Says, all about the pressure through the midfield. We need to make them bomb it down the line and inside 50, sling it from our defensive 50 to our big boys. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Kat. I think it's very important we do that. We'd like to thank Black Carrot. A donations come in. Flaggers Destination Club, bring in Zach Williams. Yeah, well, that would be absolutely sensational if we could. And I mean, yeah, we'll talk about it more during the week because we are previewing the game, but it would be massive if we got Zach Williams 100%. Yeah, look, Colin Garfield says, big forwards need to ensure they are not outmarked, with all forwards ensuring Collingwood can't run out of the back line easily. I think that is what's important for us today, locking the ball inside the forward 50, because that's something that we did really well last week against the Gold Coast. We made sure the ball was locked in there. Play the game in your offensive half. Don't play it in your defensive half. And sometimes we get sucked into that where we sort of chip it around a little bit, Wiedering, Plowman, playing the ball to each other. I think you got to go. Against Collingwood, you got to smack them on the rebound. Don't waste any time. You've just got to go quickly.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think it's and we saw in patches in that game against Port Adelaide where we just get repeat stoppages. You can't have these easy exit kicks coming out. I think that's the thing. These little 15, 20-metre kicks, they don't look significant, but it's just, if you can force a team to kick it where you want them to kick the ball, that's massive.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's one come in from Ben Israelson. He says, how do we think Cam Paulson will go? Mills. Yeah, well, I mean, I think we'll know pretty early with Paulson, to be honest. I think you'll know from the get-go whether he's on or not, or whether he's, good enough to play in that position at AFL level. I'm really excited, to be honest, because, when Carlson switch plays around and Teague more specifically plays players in new spots around the ground, usually pays off. We saw Matt Kennedy last year was sort of lost in the midfield. They moved him forward. He was kicking bags. And Paulson's, he's had to earn his spot. It hasn't come quickly.
He hasn't played since, I think, very early 2019.
Yep. So this year mainly is the year that he's put in all the work down back. Now, we heard Dale Amos mention in our edition of the podcast with him during the week that it's been Simo and Doc who have actually taken him under their wing and helped him with his defensive game. That's something that really excites me. He's working with two of our most experienced and best defenders. That has to be a positive sign, Bolt.
It has to be, and I just hope that Paulson today, he just almost he's playing for his Carlton life. Really, he just has to back himself in, take the game on. If he's going to turn the ball over, so be it. Don't turn the ball over through the middle, though, if he is going to do it. Just no brain fizzles coming out of the back line. But I think Paulson, he just has to show a bit of dare. He has to prove that he's a point of difference and that he is going to take it up to guys like Petreski, Seaton going forward off a halfback flank. But I'm excited for Paulson. I'm excited for him.
I'm getting very nervous here. The goosebumps, I'm shaking a bit. This is getting this is our biggest game really in 7 years. I mean, I can't wipe the smile off my face. I'm getting very excited. I know I'd love to see Terry right now. I know he'd be sitting on his couch waiting for the bounce of the ball. He'd be shaking. Because he's one of the most passionate blue baggers out there. And everyone who's commenting and watching now, we all know that you guys are the same. You're going to be sitting on your couches, or some of you have commented that you're at the game. If any of you are at the game or able to go to the game, comment. Let us know. We'd love to interact with you if you're at the game. A lot of comments coming through. Daniel Cicerich says, "I'm getting the tingles." Well, I mean, I think we're all. We are very, very excited for this one.
What are your final predictions, Jed?
Oh, final predictions. I think we'll win. I think our best is better than their best, and I think we're going to win. You know what? I actually reckon we'll win by about 4 goals, because something we know with Teague, when he's taken over, we don't get smacked. Very rare that we get smacked. I think we've only been beaten convincingly maybe twice since Teague's taken over. So if we're going to lose, it'll be close. And I think if it is close, we'll win. So I'm going to say we'll win. Bolt, what are your thoughts? What is your prediction?
I was actually reasonably confident during the week. It's one of those games where the closer the game gets, the more uncomfortable I'm feeling. I really don't. It could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if either team won. I'll say Carlton by a point. But I'm not. There's no confidence either way, to be honest. It's one of those games where, and I'm not sure how I know we've had 9 days off, but I'm not sure how we're going to recover after a really hot game in Darwin. I'm not sure how recovery is going to go. We saw Richmond recover pretty well. And
9 days though, 9-day break. Got a favour. I just hope they're switched on early. I hope they're just switched on early. We can't be chipping away at the score. I think it's great. I think it's great that it's a 50-50 game against the arch enemy. Big, a virtual knockout game. The loser's going to face a really uphill battle to feature in the finals. So I think it's great. It's a good experience for this young team. We finished 3rd bottom last year. Not many people on this list have played a final at Carlton. Maybe bar Casbolt, Curnow, and Murphy and Simpson. But it's just, it's massive. That's awesome. Offog says, "I'm here in Florida. Come on, Baggers." That's awesome. Baggers. That is someone who is genuinely blue abroad. Jack Maston up the Baggers. We've had, a heap of comments come through. But before we head off and watch the match, do you have almost an outlandish prediction for today's game in terms of a player for Carlton that could really step up and play his role?
Yeah, I think Sam Doherty today. I'm not sure if they've got the perfect matchup for Sam Doherty. I'm not too sure if they're going to give him, the hard tag that we've seen teams do this year. So I think this is a really big... And Doherty kind of got into a bit of a groove last week as well. He didn't have much to do because Gold Coast didn't have a lot of inside 50s. But I think if Doherty can organise and set us up from D50, then, that's always a good step in the right direction.
Shad Watson says Gibbo will have a blinder. Well, Shad, I hope he does, because he was awesome last week. Joshua Blody says Harry to kick 5. That would be sensational if that does happen. Some more comments coming through. Shad Watson earlier said Carlton by 1 point with the ICU full of supporters with heart problems. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time this year. We've been involved in a lot of close matches. Blue Abroad, Cripps 3 goals. That's awesome. If he can hit the scoreboard today, that's what we've been crying out for. So, I mean...
What about Dr. Jack Nunes?
Oh, I mean, Newsy, we know what we're going to get from Newsy. I mean, he's gone, straight up into the fan favourites, Jack Nunes. Just very quickly, my outlandish prediction, I think Cam Polson's going to play well. I think he's going to play well. I think, they've made him earn his spot. They wouldn't be bringing him in if they didn't think he was capable of playing his role. I think he's going to be exciting. And I think, it's a big call, but if he plays well today, you might hear Carlton fans start whispering about him maybe being the replacement for Simo when Simo eventually retires.
Yeah, I'm open to anything at the moment, so we'll see what happens.
Very, very exciting. Travis Bromany says Jack Martin for best on ground. Go Blues, win or lose. I still love him. Well, I think we're all in that boat. I think we all. It's hard to love this club.
Yeah, they've had a brilliant season. We can't let one game dictate, the improvement and the development that we've seen this year. But, finals might just be a bit of a stretch for 2020. But, the on-field improvement's been magnificent. But, yeah.
It has been. Well, I mean, shaking here. We're shaking. It's going to be – this is our biggest game. I think we're all just very, very excited. And, the nerves. I think that's the word. The nerves are flying through. Bolt, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank everyone who's watching and commenting. Thank you so much for tuning into the pre-game show for the biggest game of this football club in 7 years. We're going to be back to do it all again next week, but it's all about today. Bolt, any last comments before we turn on the telly?
Go Blues.
Go Blues. I think you've summed it up well. Up the Baggers. Up the Bound by Blue.
Go Blues.
Go Blues.